I'm Sammy. When I was a year and a half, my family was forced into a labor camp. As a child, I was subjected to Nazi medical experimentation. I almost died of starvation, but a German woman saved my life. While I do not know what tomorrow will bring, I do know this. Almost half of the world population does not know that the Holocaust occurred. It did. About 1/3 believe that the Holocaust is a myth or exaggerated. It isn't. And young people are far less aware of the Holocaust. It is heartbreaking. Yet now, you have the power to share the truth easily. So today, I ask you, please help others learn the truth. Take your picture holding a sign that says, "We remember." Share it with everyone you know on social media. Join the global campaign for the International Holocaust Remembrance Day. Make sure that the horrors of the Holocaust are known and never forgotten.
Reach out, oh, with Ray and Steve. Reach out, with Ray and Steve. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the car.
Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you wherever you may be. Welcome to Reach Out with Ray and Steve. This is the show where East meets West, where the Yankees meet the Dodgers, and baseball meets music. And then we all come together for community. All right, now it's time for Ray and Steve.
Thank you, Robbie. Nice to see you, man.
What are we, Wednesday afternoon?
Wednesday afternoon, and we have our special guest that dropped in here, Ben.
Hey there, Ben, are you a part of this show now? What's the story here?
I'm a part-time, once-a-month participant.
Unbelievable. I can't even get an afternoon of rest. Yeah.
But you know what? The Yankees aren't getting any rest. 11 straight wins. Can you believe that?
No, it's great. And you know what? I'm actually excited to get Ben's cousin on this show. The great Al Gold is one of the super scouts who should be in the Hall of Fame. He signed so many of the great players in baseball, and he could tell us what's really going on.
That's right. I mean, Staten Island's Ferry Hawk started last night.
Ferry Hawk started last night.
Yes.
Yes, it was good. And let me just say this. We're here at Prestige, where a lot of the people who have paid their dues in life, and it's good to be with the real people, because I was with a lot of so-called uppities, and you know what, sometimes you feel like you don't belong, you know what I'm saying? So that when I get back to Prestige and the good people and Ben's people and people that have been through the Holocaust and know what real life is about, and the brothers like Prentice and Emerson who have gone through the wars and have made it. This is what I'm talking about.
Give yourselves a round of applause here at
Yeah.
Prestige.
Prestige, the people from Prestige.
Yes. Thank you so very much. And like Ray said, Apprentice is here and Emerson's in here. And Ben, who else is going to be here on tonight's show?
Oh, so we have
Today's show.
Today's show, I forget.
So we have
Today.
Dan Grunfeld.
Oh, Dan Grunfeld. Yes.
He's an author.
Yes.
He
Be the
wrote-
grace of the game.
So he'll
Like
be joining us very shortly. And you know, in New York, we all know his dad, Ernie Grunfeld,
Yes, Ernie Grunfeld.
legend, a New York Knicks legend.
Yeah, Ray takes shots in his backyard, like Ernie Grunfeld. And he posts the swishes that he makes, but I never know how many shots he took before he gets that.
I bet you that on a straight 3-point shooting contest, I'll beat Ernie.
Oh, really?
And I'll beat Dan. I don't care. I'll take them all. I'll take on all the Grunfelds.
Okay, all
Right
right.
there, baby.
Talk from a true bat boy himself here.
That's right. The real athletes
Yeah.
are the baseball players.
But you got a lot of local flavor here that's supporting
kidding, Dan.
Prestige.
Yeah.
Talk about who's going to be here today.
So we have the Huntington Town Supervisor, Ed Smith, will join us.
Yes.
Ed Smith is here.
Ed Smith is here.
Yes.
We have Mohinder Taneja, who is the Diversity Outreach Director for Suffolk County Executive Steve Ballone.
Yes.
And we also have Mario Ferrone.
Yes.
He's the Director of Operations for Jim Gorin, Senator Jim Gorin.
Mhm.
The senator was supposed to be on, but he got called to a couple of meetings, so Mario will step in his place.
That's
And
right.
we also have Sammy Steigman, who's going to be also telling his story,
Yes.
from the Holocaust.
Well,
And will we get any of these hot dogs I see you
Absolutely.
giving everybody out here?
We have kosher
Ray,
hot
we have to do the show
dogs.
first. Forget about the hot dogs
Damn.
right now. Okay, let's do the show, then we get some hot dogs.
All right. Hey, by that time, everybody will, Sammy will eat them all by then.
Well, Prentice will save us some. How's that?
Oh, yeah, right.
But Ben, it's really serious issue because the Holocaust has to be remembered. I think our younger people are sometimes forgetting what really took place back then, and to have a person, a survivor, doesn't happen every day. So this is so meaningful. This show that you put together here today.
Right. Thank you. It's like you said, it's very important, to remember and to teach and to let the younger generation what went on, 70 something years ago. It's really not that far back.
Ben, you're right. And also that it could happen again.
Yeah.
Okay? Everybody takes it for granted that, come on.
With what's going on in the world,
That's right.
one press of a button, and
Yeah.
nuclear, and
Yeah.
you could.
Right. But I think, we have a local museum in Long Island, Glen Cove, the Holocaust Museum. I think everybody needs to go to that, but everybody really needs to go to Washington, D.C.
Yes.
No, but Steve, maybe the biggest one is actually in St. Petersburg, Florida. They have the Holocaust Museum right there on Central Avenue. So, if you get a chance, for my people over in St. Pete, which is my hometown, let's go.
Right.
Get off your booty, get away from the beach today, and go to the Holocaust Museum so you can learn what was happening.
Right. I remember going to the one in Washington, D.C. When you walk through the whole museum, at the very end, you see the shoes,
Mhm.
and before you walk out, and that is such an emotional time to experience. I think we all need to remember that, and I think putting this show on together today is so very vital.
Yes, it's very important, and it's all about education and letting the youth know what happened and ultimately what could happen.
Right. Well, first guest today is Dan Grunfeld, who wrote the book "Be the Grace of the Game," and he's calling in from L.A. or in the West Coast, right?
Yes, from California.
From California. Let's bring Dan on. Dan, welcome to Reach Out with Ray and Steve today.
Hey guys, great to be here with you.
Thank you for joining us here today. I know that we have busy schedules and we apologize for the delay, but talk about your book and why it was important for you to write that book.
Yeah, so my book is called By the Grace of the Game, and you mentioned my dad. Is well-known in New York City, right? He was a high school basketball All-American out of Queens, New York, college basketball All-American at Tennessee, played for the Knicks, was the general manager of the team. but few people know that he's the only player in NBA history whose parents survived the Holocaust. So both of my grandparents are Holocaust survivors. You'll be happy to know my grandmother turns 97 next month. She's
Beautiful.
doing incredibly well, but my dad came to Queens as an immigrant. He fled communism. He spoke fluent Italian, Romanian, and Hungarian, but didn't speak a word of English. And so it was really the game of basketball that gave our family a new life in America after the Holocaust.
Well, it says a lot about you that you wrote a book, not about basketball, but about the Holocaust. Talk about your experiences and your recollections with family members over the years that inspired you about your book.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my book there's a basketball story. There's also a Holocaust survival story. It's really an intergenerational story weaving together my family. I've always been very close with my grandmother, and I grew up understanding that something bad had happened, and she lost a lot of loved ones. My grandma lost 5 siblings and both parents in the Holocaust, and my grandfather lost everyone, his sisters and his parents. So my dad never had grandparents, and I grew up knowing that this was our family's history. When I was born, my dad was a player for the Knicks, and growing up, he was the general manager of the team, right? So he was known across New York as this basketball star, but there's a lot deeper history. And so I love to write. And I took it upon myself to write this book and tell this important story, because there's darkness in this story, but there's much more light. Ultimately, it's a hopeful, inspirational story.
Why was it important for you to put into words those experiences? Because I know as time goes on, we get further away from the Holocaust and when it occurred, and now we see what's going on in Ukraine. Why is it important for you at this point in time to really share that story even now more than ever?
Yeah, I always tell groups, the Holocaust, it wasn't that long ago and it wasn't that far away. It seems like it, right? Because we know about it in history, but my grandmother was there. The people that she loved, and Sammy, who we heard from so eloquently to begin the show, he was there, right? So we need to tell these stories, and to the points that were made earlier, most millennials don't know about the Holocaust, don't think it existed, right? It's our responsibility now to share these stories. And I'm in a unique position because, my dad is this very well-known basketball person. I was a, professional basketball player myself and played at Stanford. And by the way, Ray, I'll take that shooting contest every day of the week. Just want to say that, right? My dad was third in the NBA in three-point shooting in 1986.
Take it easy.
Hey, I'm just saying,
Come on.
Yeah, I'm so glad you put that in there, because he's got to be taken down every now and then.
Listen, it is what it is. But in all seriousness, right? I have this platform. My dad is very well known. I have a reputation in sports. People are engaging with my book to read this very amazing, inspirational story. I mean, listen, guys, my dad, as I mentioned, came to America without speaking English, born in the ashes of the Holocaust. He had an older brother, and what my dad called his brother in their native language, Hungarian, translates in English to my king. That's how much he loved his older brother. So my uncle was diagnosed with leukemia, and he passed away within a year. So my dad had all this tragedy, but he found basketball on the playgrounds of New York City. And roughly a decade later, he was standing on top of the podium as a gold medalist for the United States. And my grandparents, who survived the Holocaust, drove from Queens to Montreal, Canada, to watch their son become a gold medalist. These are stories that, and to your point, Steve, what's happening in today's world, these are stories that we need, right? They're hopeful, they're inspirational. There's fun things, there's funny things, but there's a really meaningful history here. And yeah, it became kind of my dream and the honor of my life to tell it.
Dan, number one, let me just say that I am very happy and proud of the fact that you did write this book.
Thank you.
Because I haven't read it. I have skimmed through it. And before I even knew I was doing this show. And the reason for that was because I grew up with Nancy Lieberman.
Of course. Lady Magic.
Exactly. And so the history of Nancy and how she, in essence, looked up to your dad when they were both playing in college at about the same time.
Far Rockaway, Queens is where Nancy's from.
Right.
So, and I want to show you. So this is my book right here. There you go. By the grace of the game. If you turn it on the back, here's a quote from Nancy Lieberman right here.
There you
go.
Nancy is a dear friend, also a Jewish American, one of the greatest female players of all time. So she's the best.
Well, the thing I love about Nancy, I didn't play basketball with Nancy. You can ask her. We used to play baseball together because she was every bit as good a baseball, not softball, baseball player. And you know what? Had she been in this era, she would have been the first girl to play in the major leagues. That's how good Nancy was. Not as good as me, but that's how good she was. Okay, so please send her my love, and I'm very proud of your father. Really,
Thank you.
because of the aspect of what happens with a lot of people is they hide from the aspect of where they come from, and he never did that, and I love that, and I love your dad for that.
Thank you.
And it's interesting because my partner over here has been part of the Yankees for almost 50 years, believe it or not. I mean,
Wow.
yes, he's at Yankee Stadium. He's there for all the highlights of the Yankees over those years. However, what's more important to him, and he could correct me if I'm wrong, is to give back to the community and to help the people in the Bronx and abroad, all over the place. So I admire the fact that he uses his platform with the Yankees, not for anything else, is to help others in his own community and different communities. Is that why you wrote this book as well, and what your father and your family's done all these years?
Yeah, it's a big part of it, because this history means so much to us because our family was directly affected, but we know how important it is for the world, right? That's what we've been saying. We see what's happening in Ukraine right now. We turn on the news and we see images that could be out of my book, right? And so we want the younger generations, we want people to be exposed to this history. And so for me to be able to tell a really inspirational basketball story that's interesting, that includes, a New York City basketball legend, will get people to open the book, but they'll learn about the Holocaust. They'll tell their friends to read the book. People will know what happened. And that's our obligation now, because right to your point, it could happen again. And not just to Jewish people, to any people. And my grandmother, she always says that, it's on us to spread this history. And that's a big reason why I wrote the book.
Right. Well, it's so very important because I notice as a psychologist and an educator in the school system, sometimes we don't teach our children well, and to remind people of that history of World War I, World War II, the Holocaust, the Vietnam War, the Korean War, even September 11th. So it's books like yours, sir, that really is breaking that barrier that needs to continue. Those stories need to be told. And we're going to hear from a gentleman that's a Holocaust survivor here live, which it's getting far and few between. So I always jump on the opportunity to hear those testimonies because they need to be heard either in written form or in verbal form.
Absolutely. One thing I'm really proud of is that young people have been reading my book because, it's not just the Holocaust. There's basketball, there's other interesting things there. So it's accessible to a younger audience. And I think part of the problem why Holocaust education amongst youngsters has been lacking is because sometimes it's hard to pick up a book and think, oh, I'm going to read about the Holocaust, right? Because it's a heavy topic, but it's so important. In our story, there's basketball, there's all these different things, right? So I'm just really proud that younger people have picked up the book. I'll say for all you out there who have graduating kids or people, get them a copy because we really need to share this history, and stories like this is the way to do it.
Definitely. We'll do our part to promote it because in the New York tri-state area, our show is on Cablevision, BronxNet, and abroad. So this is a really important piece for us to share with our viewers out there. How can people get a hold of your book?
Yeah, I mean, I'm proud to say that it's sold out in a lot of independent bookstores. Amazon still has copies. Amazon is actually the only place with hardcover and paperback, so you can always get it on Amazon. But I mean, I'm just so grateful for those to engage with this story. And if you watch my dad play for the Knicks, you'll learn a lot. Of course, he teamed with Bernard King, who I still call Uncle B to this day. And so write a lot about my dad and Bernard. And so I know people will enjoy it, and I'm just very grateful.
So Ben, what do you have to say about Dan?
I'm just so glad that you came on the show. It's such an important topic, and you have a voice. Not only that, you were a basketball player, your father was a basketball player, but you're a grandson of Holocaust survivors, and it's such a good platform, and it's heartwarming, to know that. There's people out there that are spreading the good message.
Thank you for that, Ben.
That's right. So we want to thank you very much for joining us on the show. But one last thing, when you do come to New York and you have a shootout with Ray, let me know what it is because I want to videotape when you beat him. Okay, I want to make sure we get that on tape.
I'll take him and his father.
Oh.
I heard it. I'm waiting for it. Right? We're gonna make it happen. We'll
Okay.
go to the playgrounds in Queens where my dad learned the game, Forest Hills, Queens, and that's where
No,
we'll get it done.
we'll go to Rucker.
There you go.
Okay.
Hey, wherever you want it,
We'll
man.
go
Wherever
to
you want
Rucker
it.
so that the brothers are on top of you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hey.
so, you know what I'm saying?
Listen,
See what
it's
Yeah.
on net.
see what
Don't
a
worry.
tough guy this guy is right here.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll
And
make
when
it
I
happen.
take my 35 footer, then we'll find out. Okay.
All right.
Logo,
I'm
logo,
looking forward
logo
to
shot.
Why don't we end this segment on a good note? Sorry, Ray. So thank you very much, Dan.
Dan,
God bless you.
Dan,
and
so
thank
proud.
you. Sorry. Dan Grunfeld,
So
give him a round of applause very much.
Thank
he
you so much.
mentioned about the museum. We have a little
Thank you.
video clip before we bring Sammy on. And we're going to show you about a museum, the Holocaust Museum, and how we all need to go and visit that museum.
The United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, located next to the National Mall, has earned international recognition for its remarkable content and design of its exhibitions and for its award-winning architecture. At its heart is the three-floor permanent exhibition. Through one of the world's largest collections of artifacts, photographs, films, and eyewitness testimonies, the exhibition tells the complete story from the 1930s to 1945, one of history's darkest eras. You can also learn about the Holocaust and remember the children, Daniel's story, an exhibition designed especially for younger visitors and families. On the second floor is the Hall of Remembrance, a place of quiet reflection, its eternal flame as a memorial to the Holocaust victims. American school children were a part of the museum's creation, and downstairs is a wall of over 3,000 tiles they painted in honor of 1.5 million children who were Holocaust victims. There are many other ways to learn about Holocaust history in the museum, including a rotating schedule of special exhibitions, a learning center, and opportunities to meet and speak with Holocaust survivors. Entrance to the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum is free of charge. The museum is open daily from 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. For additional information, visit the museum's award-winning website, www.ushmm.org.
We're here, Reach Out live here at Prestige Adult Center, and a special edition. We're remembering the folks, the survivors of the Holocaust. And next on our show, Sammy Steigman, who is a Holocaust survivor, unbelievable inspiration speaker. And thank you, sir. God bless you, first of all, for the experiences that you've gone through, but the ability to share those experiences with everyone that needs to hear that. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So you're here today. Talk about what you do and your recollection of the Holocaust so people understand.
First of all, I am a Holocaust survivor, which means that I was in one of the three type of camps: concentration camp, labor camp, and death camps. In 1991, another group of people were recognized as Holocaust survivors. And those were the people that were saved by other people. They lived in the forest and the sewer and everything else. Additionally, I'm a motivational speaker, unlike the professional ones that speak from the academic viewpoint. When I give a sentence and tell a sentence, or I refer to a different issue, I give a personal example. Also, I speak to different organizations, to schools, universities, churches. One of the things that I found out that the young generation is totally clueless about not only about the Holocaust, but how did it happen? How is it possible that ordinary German people, ordinary people from former Soviet Union, Europe, other countries in the world, they found it not only acceptable, but required to annihilate one group of people, the Jewish people. So primarily, my emphasis is not on my personal story, which obviously I talk about it. And I also, being a child of Holocaust survivors, I also honor my parents. But what's important for me is for the young people to understand that things did not happen suddenly. It took years, step by step by step, until it reached a point of no return. And I want them to be able to see the signs of today that can lead to other tragedies, so they will know how to combat it, and they will know how to prevent future tragedies.
Sir, you use the word clueless, which is a strong word. Does that hurt you when knowing that our younger generation generally speaking, doesn't understand the Holocaust?
I feel that it's heartbreaking. Uh, and the future, our future, is the next generation. And one of the things that I'm finding is like Joseph Goebbels, the minister of propaganda under Hitler, said, a lie told long enough, okay, becomes truth. And we have right now, we have the problem with social media, which we did not have before. People use slogans. They repeat something that they see on social media. They don't do the research. And a lot of the things, they perpetuate false narratives. So my mission in life is an acronym of the Hebrew word emet, which means truth. Uh, Primarily, I am interested in educating the next generation, motivating them to be the best that they can be, to empower them to become upstanders. All the tragedies in the world, genocide and Holocaust, started because the world stood by and did nothing. And I also want to teach them about tolerance. Tolerance means different things to different people. For me, it means accepting other people's opinion, other people's culture. Also, I can use a different word for tolerance, and this is respect. First of all, it starts with you, self respect, and respect for other people. I am also the only survivor, I think I mentioned it before, that my, the most important thing is I don't think anybody else does it. Uh, it's very important to learn from history because if we don't learn from history, history will repeat itself.
That's what you were saying earlier, Ray, that history can repeat itself. And we're seeing what's going on in Ukraine. And it's very heartbreaking to see those refugees not having a home. But it must be haunting to you to see that history could repeat itself one day.
Well, I have a different opinion than a lot of people, but like we talked about the tolerance, okay, I will give you my opinion. First of all, what's happening over there is a true tragedy. I lived in a socialist communist country in Romania, so I know a little bit about dictatorships. I don't know something a little bit about a person like Putin. Putin, unless he will be appeased, uh, Putin will not retreat. Putin does not care how many people will die, and Putin, absolutely will go. And this is a very scary thought. Thought nobody knows how far he will go to achieve his goals. The one thing that also Zelensky is a hero in all over the world, but at the same time, I have some questions about his actions. Number one, he compared what's happening in Ukraine with the Holocaust. It's absolutely inappropriate, and we should not make comparisons what's happening today with the Holocaust. Holocaust is a unique moment in history. In my opinion, it will never repeat itself. The other thing is even the Germans were surprised at the cruelty of the Ukrainians towards the Jewish people. As a matter of fact, Ukraine being part of the former Soviet Union during World War II, in Ukraine, 1.5 million Jews were murdered. And the Holocaust and genocide could never happen without the help of the local people. And Zelensky, as a Jew, he did not admit the role of Ukraine, okay, during World War II and murdering the Jews. Uh, but at the same time, I'm also very concerned about NATO and United States and Zelensky asking for ammunition, planes and tanks and everything else. And by doing that, he is perpetuating the war, and that will escalate. and a lot of people, unfortunately, will die. My question is, why can't he give certain things that Putin wants? To give an example, Crimea, for practical purposes, it's part of Russia. So admit it. It's yours. Admit that you will never join NATO because Putin cannot afford a nuclear uh, 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 entity, at this door. We have to look at the history. There are 200 years history between Russia, Soviet Union, and Ukraine. Uh, if anybody remembers the Cuban crisis, uh, Kennedy, okay, was willing to go to war, World War III, if Khrushchev would not retrieve, the missiles, which he never wanted to admit. So we have to learn from history, and it's a very complicated situation. I'm scared how far Putin will go, and uh, what can I say? I don't have the answers. I hope that the West, United States, NATO, Zelensky will come to an understanding that certain things have to be conceded. So at least there will be a ceasefire so people can leave if they want to leave.
Right, right. And before we let you go, what's the most important aspect of the Holocaust that you want our young people to remember?
The most important thing is for them, first of all, to be proud of their heritage, to be proud to be Americans. At the same time, to become upstanders, to know that they are our future. Uh, our leaders, celebrities, people in power, they use words. Uh, I don't think we have the time, but if we do, they use words that perpetuate false narratives. And they have to know, to be educated, to be to be able to stop, okay, all of those lies. And unfortunately, from my personal perspective, uh, there is no real education here in this country about the Holocaust and genocide. There is indoctrination, and that is part of my job, to educate the next generation. They are our future.
Let's close with this, which is the children are the future, like you said. However, the adults need to educate the children so that the children can see. You got to look in the mirror, because everything that's happening today is because we are not educating our children. Parents are not being parents. Okay? They're just, I don't want to get into any trouble. I just want to say parents need to educate their kids better so that they learn.
The one thing that I would say, before they teach the children, they have to be educated.
Absolutely.
Okay, you cannot educate somebody if you are not educated on that subject. So like I tell the young people, whatever your interest is, whether it's Holocaust, whether it's genocide, whether it's Israel, whatever, educate yourself in that particular subject. Otherwise you will not be able, okay, to show a different perspective to other people.
And let's stop with the selfishness. We live in a selfish world. Stop already. Stop! Because I'm tired of it.
Okay. And let's remember, okay, never again, okay, never forget. Holocaust, genocide, which is happening all over the world. Thank you very
That's
much.
Sammy Steigman, motivational speaker, Holocaust survivor, volunteer. His cell phone number is 646-418-0875 or 212-686-1929. His website, sammyspeaks.com, SAMISPEAKS.
Call Bennett Prestige. Call Bennett Prestige. He knows how to get Sammy.
That's right. That's right. But thank you, sir. Thank you very much. God bless you. This is just an icebreaker. We're going to do more work together, and that needs to, the love needs to be spread that way. And there's other nonprofit
One of my new
organizations
heroes.
that are supporting the
Right here.
Holocaust. let's take a look at those other agencies before our next guest comes on.
Thank you for inviting me, and I'm very honored.
Thank you.
We're honored.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're honored.
History has different meaning when it's part of your personal story, and that is the case for 3 generations of women in Atlanta. And it's why a grandmother, mother, and daughter traveled to the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. The grandfather of the family survived the Holocaust, and when he passed away, they knew it was a trip they must take together. Jennifer Bellamy sat down with the women. Jennifer, they feel strongly about sharing their experience.
They do, Cheryl. The Hirsch women say seeing history before their eyes had a profound impact on them. So now they're sharing a message with others that they hope will mean a future with less hate for everyone.
I go back so much memories.
Sifting through the past, Helen Hirsch, her daughter Nisa Hirsch-Tallman, and granddaughter Shelley Hirsch are deeply connected to their history.
Due to my husband, these things were very real to me.
Harold Hirsch, their poppy, was a beloved husband, father, and grandfather. But before he became any of those things, he survived the Holocaust.
My dad didn't have any hate.
His love of people and wanting to help.
That's the legacy he left behind, despite the years of mass killings and persecution suffered by Jewish people. A history on display for the nation to see and remember at the Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C.
Absolutely awesome. The pictures were so real. To me, you could almost touch it and feel the faces.
The 3 women traveled to see it for themselves, together as a family.
Everything is being preserved at what we have so people can come and say, yes, it's true. It was not made up.
An increase in those hoping to discount history and in anti-Semitic actions has many concerned. The Anti-Defamation League found more than 1,800 attacks against Jews and Jewish institutions last year alone, the 3rd highest year since the group started tracking the data in the 1970s. That includes a deadly mass shooting at a Pittsburgh synagogue that killed 11 people and a recent increase in Holocaust denial groups. The Southern Poverty Law Center tracked no such groups in the year 2000, but identified 8 last year.
We don't want this to happen again. We don't want it to happen to anybody.
That's why remembering the lives and stories of those like Poppy and other survivors is so important.
I'm going to be the last generation to ever witness a Holocaust survivor speak, to ever meet someone who went through those atrocities, someone who survived it and able to tell the stories.
Especially for those who will carry the past forward to avoid repeating it in the future.
And I hope that it changes the way that Americans see the world and see other humans and not as others.
The family's trip was part of the 2019 Atlanta mission. It helped mark the 20.
Not one. You do?
We're back here at Prestige Adult Center here in Long Island, New York, and we just heard from Sammy, and we asked Sammy to stay here because we have another special guest, Ed Smith, who's the Huntington Town Supervisor. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a privilege to be here at the Huntington Adult Center. And
why is it important for you to be here today, but also explain the work that goes on here at Prestige?
Well, the work bringing the community together and the senior citizens of the town into Prestige is a great opportunity for them to share their views, their worldviews, and also to continue making Huntington the cultural epicenter of Long Island. And we're very proud of that. We're proud of the music, culture, education that we bring into the town, and we'll continue to do that.
When you heard Sammy's story, I mean, the Holocaust survivor, I mean,
Very
sitting
compelling.
there before you came on, what's your thoughts?
Very compelling. It's amazing that you're here. We're happy to have you here. We want to have you back in Huntington. And
My honor. Thank you.
It's a privilege to sit here and listen to you. And you know, what you brought up is diversity of thought and different ideas. And that's one of the things that is so important when you're talking about tolerance, is listening to ideas that you have not heard already, or maybe ideas that you think you disagree with, and listening to somebody articulate them and perhaps persuade you to take a second look at your own thoughts and your own ideas, and be persuaded that maybe, just maybe, somebody else had a more compelling point of view.
Right.
May I say something?
Sure, of course.
One of the things is that it will take time, but there is a pilot program in New York, and this is to educate the Muslim youth. And it so happened that I was the first one, a Holocaust survivor, invited to speak in Brooklyn to a I don't know if it was Brooklyn and Manhattan, but to speak to a school, okay, all Muslims. So it's a very great opportunity to educate because the youth are totally clueless.
Yeah, and to that point, and this is true in politics and local government. If you're in a room where everybody agrees with you, you're in the wrong room.
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
If you're a student and you're in a group of friends and everybody agrees and everybody's saying the same thing, you're in the wrong group of friends. You need to branch out a bit.
That's right. That's why I would love to, be involved in interfaith, panels.
So, Mr.
in
Smith,
dialogue.
I'm sorry, sir. Talk about the youth in Huntington specifically. I mean, this pandemic has really hit us hard all over the world. But specifically in Huntington, what's your efforts now, post-pandemic, the height of it at least,
Right.
And how are you moving forward in your community?
Well, we have quite a few youth outreach programs. We have the Tri-CYA, we have the Huntington Youth Bureau, we have HYBIDRI, which is the Huntington Youth Bureau Development Research Institute. It's a mouthful, but we have quite a few programs in the town reaching out to youth. We work hand in glove with the Suffolk County Police Department as well. There's a tremendous amount of outreach through the Parks Department, getting, it's not just ideas, but it's also get the kids off the couch,
right.
And particularly in the summertime, get them off the couch, get them onto the ball fields, get them to the pools, the beaches, the ice rink that we have.
Right.
So keep them active, and we're constantly reaching out to the youth in the town.
And that's what my partner does too in the Bronx, getting them off the streets to play on the ball field, like you
Right.
just mentioned, play baseball, but do something creative, get them away from social media, do something. I mean, I think we've all gotten sidetracked to the point where it's distracting and it's harmful.
Absolutely. It absolutely is.
That's right. And the work that's done here specifically, I mean, you're seeing a lot of people here in the audience that are really feel at home. I mean, it's important to have that home feeling, what goes on at Prestige, but also within your community, right?
That's right. And we do, the folks at home that are watching can't see, but we do have a live audience in front of us. And in that audience, there's somebody that I want to recognize. Well, two people. We have Prentice McNeil from the Drifters is here.
Yes, give a round of applause, Prentice.
And I would be remiss if I didn't recognize Emerson Boozer, who is sitting right behind him.
There we go, Emerson.
Emerson is a legend in Huntington. He played for the New York Jets, and he was also the Huntington Parks Director, and did an excellent job for the town, keeping our parks and beaches in excellent condition. And I think the Jets, with their lineup right now, could still use you, Emerson. Get back out there. They need you. They need you. So anyway, I just wanted to recognize them here that are in the audience today.
And sir, before we let you go, what's the most rewarding aspect of what you do right now and challenging, and how do you move forward, bringing people together?
The most rewarding, particularly coming out of the quarantine and pandemic, the most rewarding aspect of my job is getting out door to door, getting out into the community, seeing people coming together like this and having discussions like this. The most challenging aspect of the job is finding funding for programs, finding funding for infrastructure. We are always, my job partially with the town is as the town's chief panhandler. I'm going out to the state, and I know you have Senator Gorin's representative is here next, but I get on the phone with our state representatives, our county representatives all the time, and I'm constantly badgering them for funding for our infrastructure, our roads, our equipment. And you can let Senator Gorin and his colleagues in Albany know that we'll be knocking on their door looking for more equipment and more road and heavy equipment for our roads.
Well, we want to keep you too long here because you have more panhandling to do outside.
That's right. He's not getting out the door without hearing from him.
Thank you, Ed Smith. Thank you so much. God bless you and all your efforts. Thank you for coming.
Thank you
down
very much.
here.
Thank you.
Yeah, for
Pleasure meeting you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much, and we'll definitely work with you down the road.
You're welcome. Thank
you. And we're here at Prestige Adult Center. If you want to call them, they can be reached at 631-923-2262. Again, that's 631-923-2262. We're here, Reach Out with Ray and Steve, and we're here with the live audience to have another special guest coming on right now. So if we could bring him on at this moment. Okay, so come on back in, Ben. This is live. We're here live. We have a great audience here. Again, give this audience a round of applause because Prentice, did you save us any hot dogs, first of all? right, 'cause I see your plate is empty over there, man. But we have a lot of people here. Again, you really hitting the hearts of so many people when you provide such a home environment here. What does it mean for you to see such outpouring of love here in your center all the time?
I can say it's a family. All throughout the pandemic, people were stuck in their homes and, staring at the four walls, staring at the TV, not having interaction with friends. And, everybody here really, they've become a family. People look out for each other. They call each other on the weekends. If someone's not here, they'll call them, what's the matter? You're not feeling well. What's going on? So we've really created an environment that it's like a home. And, it's very important.
When you hear somebody like Sammy talk about his experience with the Holocaust, and what does that mean to you to hear those
To me,
stories?
it means that, it's terrible the things that went on. You really can't believe the magnitude, that's 6 million Jews, but 11 million people. There was many millions of other people who were killed by the Nazis. And you just can't imagine. Like, if you go into a stadium and you see 60, 70,000 people, you're like, wow, that's a lot of people. Now times that by how much?
Right.
Every stadium in the world.
Right.
And, you might not get to the 11 million.
And that's what you guys out there have to realize. What you just said, it's not over all the stadiums in the world, doesn't even amount to what happened.
I just want to make a comment because, Ben just mentioned 6 million. To be honest with you, I cannot relate to it. It's a number. However, remember this. If you would be on your feet and silent for 1 minute for every victim of the Holocaust, you would be on your feet and silent for 11 and a half years. The other thing I wanted to remember is that not every victim of the Holocaust was a Jew, but every Jew was a victim. And today we are also commemorating Yom HaZikaron, the National Memorial Day. And I want to make a connection between the Holocaust and the state of Israel. During the Holocaust, Jews died because we did not have a country. Tomorrow we will remember the people that died for us to have a country and to understand finally the importance of the state of Israel for the Jews in diaspora. In 2015, because of the increase in violence in France, 8,500 French Jews emigrated to Israel to find a safe haven.
Well, I just wanted to welcome another guest. He's going to present Sammy with a certificate of appreciation. Mohinder Taja, he's the diversity outreach director for the county executive Steve Ballone. So
that's a surprise.
Unexpected. That's right. Well, see, we are full of surprises here, Sammy. So come on in, sir. And maybe you could share a little bit of your office, or just present something with Sammy.
Yeah, certainly. First of all, warm greetings to all on the Yom HaShoah day. Certainly, very tragic day. Certainly, when 6 million Jews were murdered. Certainly, that kind of oppression should never be tolerated. Should never happen again. And like I was just listening to Mr. Boccaro and Sammy, that unless we don't stand up when something happens to somebody, it will happen to us also. Our county executive, Steve Ballone, has presented a citation for him. He could not be here. So I think I will take this opportunity to present a citation to a legend, a Holocaust survivor. And because of his perseverance and inspiration, certainly he has been there guiding many people. I would just like to read briefly. And
you want to read or?
no, Suffolk County Executive Steve Ballone presents this certificate of appreciation to Sammy Steigman, in recognition of your dedication to future generations who will benefit from your strength to overcome tragedy and to inspire them to lead a life with compassion and understandings. Yom HaShoah Memorial 2022, signed Steve Malone, Suffolk County Executive, presented May 4, 2022. It's my honor to present this to you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you
Mr.
so much
Vaquero?
for that presentation.
Certainly.
Thank you so
Appreciate,
much.
appreciate what you are also doing. I heard your views also.
Yes,
Certainly.
yes.
Really
Thank you so
appreciate
much. We're going to talk right after the show, which is almost
Thank
over
you.
here. We're live at Prestige Adult Center here in Huntington. You're hearing from so many amazing guests, and such a day that has to be remembered, not just now, not just tomorrow, all the time. And I think the Holocaust is so very important for all of us to be reminded of the heartache and the tragedy and the devastation that took place then, and what we need to continue to report on now.
So unfortunately, Senator Jim Gorin was not able to attend. He's in Albany, and he got called to a couple of meetings, but he also sent over a proclamation for you.
Wow.
So it reads, Senator James F. Gorin honoring Sammy Steigman. Whereas a great state is only as great as those individuals that perform exemplary service on behalf of their community, whether through unique achievement in professional or other endeavors, or simply through a lifetime of good citizenship. And whereas it is the privilege of this legislative body to honor Sammy Steigman for exemplary service to the community and state upon being a Holocaust survivor and motivational speaker, who lives to tell his story and is passionate about his role of sharing a fresh perspective on hope, life, and faith. And whereas it is the belief of this legislative body that when individuals of such noble aims and accomplishments are brought to our attention, it is appropriate to publicly proclaim and commend those individuals for the edification and emulation of others. And whereas such service, which is truly the lifeblood of the community and the state, so often goes unrecognized and unheralded. Now, therefore, be it further resolved that I, State Senator James F. Gorin, recognize that in Sammy Steigman, we have an individual worthy of our highest respect and esteem. And be it further resolved that a copy of this proclamation be transmitted to Sammy Steigman as a Holocaust survivor and motivational speaker during the Yom HaShoah memorial event to commemorate all the lives lost in the Holocaust. And it's signed by Senator James F. Gorin, 5th Senate District, and dated 5/4/2022. So thank you on behalf of Senator Gorin.
And we're live here. Such an honor, sir. And I think that your story needs to be told each and every day. And you're a true blessing. And I've learned something today. I've learned that the word humble is, we all need to remember that, because being humbled in so many walks of life, we lose track. We take for granted what we have. And sir, what you do is a true blessing to share your story and the stories of so many that needs to be told. So God bless you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Sammy.
thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
My honor. And, okay, thank you for being here.
Thank you. We have a large crowd here. And I don't know where Ray went, because I know he was eyeing those hot dogs over there, so I don't know. But Ray's around here somewhere. He's with Prentice. And but you know what, Ben? Thank you so very much for sharing this stage here, because it needs to be told. The work that, there's Ray. Oh,
Hot dog for really good. Prentice, thanks for saving me a hot dog.
You see, is that a Yankee
For
Frank?
me too. For me too.
Oh, you too. Say one more, Emerson, one more.
Okay. All right, Ray.
Great show, great people. I'm blessed to know this man. Wow, incredible, incredible. Ben,
You put on a good show, big guy.
Thank you, thank you.
Oh,
Oh,
look, now he wants my drink. Hey, I'm out of here. Can I have it?
Well, you know, Ben, when you take a look at this last hour, we have like a minute and a half left. I mean, what's your takeaway from this?
Takeaway, it's great to have, you know, a piece of history right here. This is history. This is someone.
This is living history.
Yes, this is living history. It's someone who, I mean, I'm honored, you know, when I called him that he, you know, said, absolutely, you know, I can be there as long as you want. I'll answer questions. I mean, after this, he's still going to be here to answer a lot of questions that people have.
On any subject. On any subject.
Any subject.
And
Okay, there
it's
we
just,
go.
you know, this is something that I definitely wanted to share with my extended Prestige Adult Center family, with all our members. And it's a topic, you know, for your audience also, something that's really important to, you know, to speak about and to learn about and to educate the younger generation.
That's right.
And well, last thing, Ben's cousin, who was my baseball coach, Al Goldis, he lost his son. And I just want Al to know that we pray for you every day, and we pray for your son every day.
Thank you. Thank you, Ray.
Gentlemen, when great people get together, great things happen. So God bless you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for this wonderful audience here. And,
On to the hot dog, Steve.
On to the hot dog.
To the hot
This is a
dog
special
stand.
edition from Reach Out with Ray and Steve. Check us out every Monday night from 7 to 8 p.m. We're on BronxNet and Cablevision. Love each other. God bless.
Staten Island Ferry Hawks, they opened up, so let's get to the ballpark.
All right.